Welcome to the Rapport Advantage Podcast, transforming the way leaders communicate. Here's your host, human behavior expert and professional speaker, Alex Swire-Clark.
Welcome to the show, everybody. Back from Podcast Movement 18, fired up about podcasting. What's up, Liz?
Not much, Alex, but you are fired up. It's good to see you.
Oh, yeah, good to see you, too. Podcast Movement was great. Spent 4 days in the city of brotherly love up in Philadelphia. Did not get a chance to do much sightseeing because there were just action-packed, jammed-up sessions with all kind of good content, and we're going to, as always, adapt our podcast to best practices and to making sure that you guys out there in the audience are getting the most value that you possibly can from what we're trying to do here.
Yay.
Yay. So that being said, intros, I guess, are appropriate. I am Alex Swire-Clark, CEO, speaker, and emotional intelligence expert.
And I'm Liz Parker, certified behavioral analyst that does job benchmarking, and I'm a strategic growth consultant.
That is awesome. So if you haven't listened to our podcast before, we are here to help you break down the walls of miscommunication, increase your emotional intelligence, and build better relationships in the workplace and beyond. And normally I have some snazzy sound effects, and my machine's broken. So, or some goofy thing that I would normally do right now. Sorry for you new listeners that don't get a chance to hear that. I'll have the soundboard back up, hopefully by the next couple of episodes.
And the D's will be happy.
Yes, they're like, thank the laws that he's moving forward and not doing all that stuff. But too late, dude. It's going to happen. I'm going to do something crazy. Today's episode is about identifying styles. So we're going to have a little series here, probably 3 or 4 parts, where Liz and I are going to break down for you how to identify the styles based upon certain aspects of who they are, be that the way they dress, or be that their office decor, or be that body language. Or today's topic is identifying styles by speech pattern and by vocal tone. So I'm going to start with the vocal tone stuff, and then Liz has got all kind of good nuggets on speech patterns, and then we'll kind of bat that back and forth and address anything that we have from a story standpoint. And that'll be kind of how we do it today. And again, that'll be by style. And as always, we start with D's in that DISC format. And just as an aside, if you haven't listened to our podcast before and you're not familiar with D, I, S, and C, go back and listen to episodes 2 through 6. That's an introduction to DISC in episode 2. 3, 4, 5, and 6 are basically the breakdowns of each individual style. What's a D? What are their traits? What are their characteristics and that kind of thing? So it's a deep dive into each style. So episode 3 starts with D all the way up to episode 6 with the high Cs. Today, we're going to start with D's, and so from a tone standpoint, D's are very direct in their tones, very directive tones. Let's go. Let's do this. It's short, it's sweet, it's to the point. They're going to give you the information in as small of a window of time as possible, and they're getting the heck out of Dodge. So there's not going to be a lot of fluff on the front end or the back end, or, okay, guys, today we're going to, no, it's like, all right, here's what the deal is. Blah, 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 and they're out. They made their 6 points, bulleted, and they're gone. Not a lot of frou-frou in the PowerPoint. It's just what it is what it is. Those direct tones. Liz, how about those speech patterns?
The speech patterns, I'm telling you, are exactly right. They're limited. They do not even sometimes say hello. They immediately jump into what they want to say. That's it. They have a very big aversion to small talk. They really don't like to chit-chat. And they do attempt to direct the conversation. You'll find you're with a high D as soon as they start telling you what they want to talk about and they get into that. If they're standing there talking to somebody else and you start using touchy-feely terms, you'll turn them off. So they dislike those touchy-feely terms. So I'd say that the directive tones and the very limited blunt conversation is part of what the speech patterns are.
So from the standpoint of questions, because, we have some styles that are really big into asking questions. Are they a question asker or are they kind of an answer before people ask?
They basically just tell you.
So if we're trying to be politically correct, we'll say that they state more than they ask. Is that a safe way to say it?
They do state more than they ask. And they will talk more than they listen.
That is correct. We love D's. They get stuff done, but conversational, they're not going to have a lot of water cooler talk. They're there for the water and they're gone. Hey, Johnny. Oh, okay, bye, Johnny. I guess he's gone off and doing his thing. All right, very good.
There's one other one that I just want to throw in there, and that's make strong statements. They will kind of surprise you. That bluntness, those strong statements are really a big identifier.
Yeah, and from the CEO standpoint or the entrepreneurial standpoint, guys, just want to let you know, our profits are up 20%. Good job. And they're out. No, wait a minute. Where's the fanfare? Where's the party? I mean, where's the celebration? Confetti or something. Or, hey, gang, we're down 20%. Don't worry about it. We got this. And they're all, whoa, what, dude? Wait, what? We're down 20% for the quarter, for the year? What happened? And so they just get in and get out, and they're not emotional about it because it is what it is. I mean, the numbers are what the numbers are, and they're going to do something about it because that's what they do.
That's great.
Yay.
So
That's great. All right, sweet. So moving on to the second IDing of styles, and that's for our high I's, our inspiring types. Their tones are varied. Liz and I both, we will, get up into the atmosphere of our changing the way that we talk. And so we have our pitch changes. So we'll start way up here, then we get a little more serious. We'll be down here to Barry White land a little bit. And not only that, but I's have the gift of understanding the power of the pause. And so when we're speaking to organizations, I know Liz and I both have this, where we're in the middle of something and then we'll just stop for a minute. Not in the middle of a sentence like I just did there, but we'll stop and let people soak in what's going on. So I's have that beautiful gift of letting the power of what they've just said soak in so that it's meaningful. Versus a D, which is get in, get out, and they're gone. The I's will take their time. They will elaborate. And so they're up and down in terms of, we're going to go from here to down here in the lower range. But they're also, they have that pause effect, which really, makes them very charismatic when they're in front of groups.
So I think it's a good example to talk about with the speech patterns. They like to tell stories and anecdotes, and they also share a lot of their personal feelings. I know as a high I, I'm telling them stuff that they're like, really, TMI, too much information for me. They express their opinions very readily. The variety and vocal quality, I just have to kind of reinforce. They're really big on that. They do get a little distracted when things are going on around them. So they'll talk about that.
There's no shiny object syndrome with I's. Come on now. Oh, squirrel. Oh, sorry.
One of the things that I did run across that I was really surprised about, because I wasn't sure what that was all about, but I realize I have this, and we are uncomfortable with people who use sophisticated thinking words, because we talk with feelings and we're so feeling oriented that when people use sophisticated thinking words, it throws us off a bit because we don't know what the feeling is attached to it.
That's a great point, Liz. And on a previous podcast, this is one of the little nuggets that I say, if you don't hear anything else from me, hear this one today, is that the right side of that graph, those I's and S's, are all about the feeling, and those D's and C's are all about the thinking. So when they are in leadership roles, the way they frame to get input, an I or an S will say, hey guys, how'd y'all feel about that? Yeah, how do you feel? And so they're thinking to themselves, well, what's the overall feeling in the room? Was it a positive or negative? They're not trying to quantify it. They're just kind of trying to qualify it. Versus the D and the C, which they'll say, well, what'd you guys think about that? Well, I thought that, we could have spent 5 minutes less on this, or I thought our numbers were down, but I thought the reaction was pretty good. So they're thinky. And that right side is feeling. Just make sure that you understand those parameters when you're dealing in a leadership position. If you have a high D supervisor, they're all about the think side of things. And so the facts, and that's what's driving them, not how you feel. Those D's and C's don't care how you feel. They care about the facts and the process and getting things done.
That is really good. So as I think about speech patterns, really, if nothing else, they should remember those I's are talkative. The D's will say what they have to say, but the I's will go on and on and on and on and on until they get there. That's right. We will eventually land our plane. It might be in Maui, but we're going to land the plane. I mean, it will be somewhere. Easily distracted. They're very personable, and they're very talkative. So our S's, they are going to be using warm tones. So remember, S's are reserved and people-oriented. So they're friendly, but they're going to be softer in how they do things. And so very warm, kind of elongate things, very inviting, nice, and, oh, hey, honey. I have a lot of ladies here in the South who, as waitresses or, folks who will serve you or wait on you, they're like, oh, hey, darling, how are you today? Can I get you something? So not crazy like, hey, what's going on today? Welcome to the coffee shop. From that perspective, warm tones, just friendly, like they've known you forever, just warm, and they give you the warm fuzzies. But again, they're not going to reach out to you first normally because they are that reserve type. And they will ask more than state. So they tend to, want to know more about the other person. They listen more than they talk, and they tend to reserve their opinions. They are not as a verbal of a communicator. They're less forceful in how they come across with their ideas and their thoughts. Like you said, very warm.
Indeed. So that preferring listening is a wonderful, wonderful trait. When you're in these situations, we've talked about DI and S already. And we'll come back to that in a minute in terms of how do you know when we're asking them a question or what the responses should be. I'm going to get back to that in a minute because I've got a little point I want to make. Going next to our C's, they are, from a tone standpoint, they are pretty monotone. Never too high, never too low. And they've got that kind of same speech pattern like this where they're kind of low key, but it's not warm and fuzzy like our S's were. It's just, okay, so what you're saying is our numbers are going to be down this month. All right, 5.7%. That's pretty rough. So we're going to go try to get those back up to 6.2%. And I think if we look at section 4.B-73, we'll see an opportunity, a tremendous opportunity to increase. And so there's no emotion there. It's just all the same pitch, all the same pace, never going to go too high or too up or too down. There are a couple guys in our Vistage group who are going to remain unnamed who are very much like that. Great guys, love them to death. They are super high C's, and they are just steady Eddie, very unemotional, and just, but they got that thinking thing going on. And so they're thinking, again, their emotional side is kind of overshadowed by their intellect and intuition and that thinky side.
They do. They like those thinking words as opposed to those feeling words. And what you're describing is they're more formal and proper the way they speak. They're more limited in how much they speak, as well as they're very fact and task oriented. So when you were giving that example, you had less vocal variety. They do actually prefer written communication over verbal. So if you are working with a C, you might keep that in mind, that you'll get a lot more out of them if you just send them an email.
And be prepared to read that email for about 7 minutes, because they're going to give you every ounce of detail possible when they come back. So if they say, hey, Bill, did you get the proposal I sent over? If a C's answering that, and again, we've talked about that on a previous show about answering through email. I've got that email. I received it at 1:30 last Friday. I've had a chance to take a look over it. I've got a bullet point list of things that I found. Okay, starting with bullet point 1. The spreadsheet in cell C11, I've noticed there's a font change, and I'm not sure why. And so it's just blah, blah, blah. Dude, did you get it or not? I mean, I didn't need the State of the Union. And just, So, but they're going to give you that logic-focused response that lets you know, hey, I read it, and here are exactly the thoughts that I have behind it, because they don't want to leave anything to chance. Again, that's that perfectionism.
And in a meeting, one of the things they really bring to the value of their speech is they ask pertinent questions instead of making statements. They will probe into that area that maybe nobody else has thought about. So that deep thinking that they have is really, really valuable when you're in those kind of interactions.
People are going to want to know, okay, now that we've kind of ID'd these styles, and okay, we've got D's that are direct, and these talkative I's, and these warm conversational S's, and these monotone clarifying kinds of C's, what can we do to form a catalyst when we get into these relationships from a first time, or that first encounter, that first impression, to be able to find out, okay, I've got to get them to talk. So what kind of questions can we ask these people to get them to identify themselves?
So I think you have a good answer ready to go. So if I were a D and you wanted to get me to actually talk, what question would you ask me?
Well, it depends on where we are and what we're doing. So if I'm in your office, for example, and I meet you, hey, hey, Liz, how are you? Da-da-da-da. And you've got a degree of your thing. Oh, I see up there, you went to Clemson. How was that?
Oh, it was good.
That's a D. No elaboration. It was good. It was done. I mean, that was it. If it was an I, how would you respond to that question if you were an I, Liz? So you went to Clemson. How was that?
Oh my gosh, I got to tell you about the group I had, the people I hung out with, the parties we went to, did you ever go to a football game? Oh my gosh, the whole culture of the football game is unbelievable. The way that everybody comes together. I know you must have been there before.
Yes, I've seen it on TV. And the whole CL, they do all this big giant chant. So again, they're going to just start talk, and they'd probably do a cheer in front of you and that kind of thing. They're immediately going to let you know. So you can't ask yes or no questions because, obviously people don't elaborate from those. If it was an S and I said, "Oh, Liz, you've been doing disc you got a little certification on the background. How long have you been doing disc and what's your favorite part of that?"
Oh, yes, I have done disc and I'm very proud of that. Oh, I wouldn't say proud of that. How would you answer that, Mr. S? I'm an I. I'm going to put it all about me.
I was waiting for you to turn the tables on me.
You got to answer it because you're the S.
So I would say, I've been doing disc since I've been involved with it since 1997. So, I guess that's a long time, but it's been really, really great for our company and especially for my family. So again, that nice, warm, and they have that kind of aw shucks mentality. Like, oh yeah, it's been 21 years, but yeah, it's really not really much. It's just that kind of thing.
Very humble.
Very humble. Exactly. And so if you're asking me as a C.
Yes, I am.
Yeah.
So as a C, I see that disc certification on the wall. Tell me a little bit about that.
I got that certification back in 2001 with Personality Insights down in Atlanta, Georgia. Dr. Robert Rome is a great guy. It's a very complex program. We take on about 12 to 15 different parts of the different disc styles and a very rigorous curriculum and been very good for our company. We've shown our retention rates have increased by 12.7% as a result, and we've been very satisfied with that.
Nicely done.
So they're going to elaborate when asked directly, but they're going to stick more to numbers and facts. And so where it was, who it was, and then what it was able to do for our company. Mm-hmm. Because if it's not progressing things forward, then we shouldn't be doing it. That's that C logic. It's got to be logical in terms of where it is. You need to ask leading questions, and the brevity of the response will indicate a lot of times what they are. If it's short and quick, you're probably got a D.
Yep.
Especially if you ask that follow-up and they're still brief and short. These are very difficult to build rapport with because they don't elaborate a lot. But at least at that point, hey, I'm dealing with a D. I need to ask them questions about them and their specific goals, their specific accomplishments, because a D loves to talk about successes they've had. So, I see that class ring. Oh, Yale. Nice. When were you at Yale? Oh, yeah. So I was back there from 91 to 95. Oh, really? Did you ever go to any of those Harvard-Yale football games? I bet those are blessed. Well, they were pretty fun. Oh. So give me a time when you did something like that. What was your favorite experience? Well, that time when we threw the Hail Mary 65 yards down the field and scored and beat those little Harvard Crimson butts. Okay, whatever happens to be. They're going to get into discussions about themselves. Those I's. So how was? Oh, it was great. But you didn't even finish your question. They're going. That's what they just love to talk. And those S's, you're going to have to ask more how questions. How is that huge question for S's? And then they'll open up, but you have to make that first step.
And that's an important step too with S's. I think that's really critical. Where the D's don't need the conversation and that little chit chat, S's do. You will not get anywhere if you don't start with a little chit chat with an S.
That's right. Remember, the right side of that graph, they have to like you before they trust you. That left side of the graph, those task-oriented people have to trust you before they like you. So those D's and C's, got to get them on the fact train, got to get them on the logic train. Don't start hitting them with jokes right off the bat because you'll lose them because they're going to think you're just some kind of goofy person who doesn't have anything to offer them. Mm-hmm. But those I's and S's, that's going to lock you into success with them. So it's crazy how those opposites work. Right side of the graph, I's and S's, like before trust. C's and D's have to trust before like. Finishing up here with our review of IDing our styles by tone and speech pattern. D's, directive tones.
Abrupt. They may interrupt.
They state more than they ask. They are ready to roll when they walk in there. For the I's, we've got varied tones. They're up and down, pitches and pauses and things like that.
Personal and easily distracted.
Oh, no, never. Not us. S's are going to be using warm tones. So that, hey, y'all, and the, hey, sweetie, that kind of thing. Conversational, they're friendly. They prefer listening versus talking. And then those C's are going to be more of a monotone. They're going to be clarifying all the time. They're very logical. They're going to have focused questions that lead them towards where does this fit in and why are we doing it. If you give me a Y and I'm a C, I will be excited. And here's what I'll sound like. Yay. Nothing against y'all C's, but y'all tend not to get too high or too low, which is great. We love that. Liz, that is our wrap-up of today's show. How can folks get in touch with you?
They can reach me by emailing me at liz@ltresults.com or visit my website at ltresults.com.
Perfect. Well, what I'm asking people to do is to join our Facebook group. We just started a new Facebook group. We're excited about that. Head over to Facebook and search the Rapport Advantage podcast, and our group will appear. Just click to join. We've got some great questions for you to get your feedback on, and we'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have there as well. We're building a community over there, and we'd love to have you. On our next podcast, we're going to dive into some more identification processes where we're going to look at body language. So how do we identify a style by the body language they present to us? So that's going to do it for today's show. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to the Rapport Advantage podcast. We'd love to hear from you. Join the conversation on Facebook at The Rapport Advantage and follow us on Twitter at Rapport Podcast.